Okay, dah.
Okay, so we don't have to look at that, right? We can just look at everybody else. Okay. Sorry, I have already forgotten the name. Fatimah and then Amirul, Hadi,
Hadi.
and
Madiha.
Madiha. Yes, okay.
Assalamualaikum, Prof. Aslam. We are from the item student from Negeri Sembilan, Campus Rambai. We would like to ask you several questions pertaining to our group project, which is about documentary of Nation Public Finance. So we have several questions to ask you recently. So firstly, it's been an honor to meet you in person.
Okay, thank you very much and welcome to the Center for Islamic Economics in IUM.
Yeah. So we're going to the first question, which is, what is your opinion regarding to the financial position of Malaysia?
Okay, this is a very contemporary issue. A lot of discussion, debate going on. I think in particular the issue of what exactly is our country's debt position. Yeah? I think it all depends on how you calculate the debt. Whether you want to include contingent liabilities and government guarantees in your calculation. Yeah? So, if I'm not mistaken, there is still a discussion about this. Direct debt is about just over 50%. And then, but when you include the guarantees and the other contingent liabilities, it can go up to 80+%, right? So the disagreement is on whether you want to include the guarantees and the contingent liabilities as well. Having said that, we set our own limit for debt at 55%. So if you're only calculating direct debt, then we are still below. And I think we never crossed it anyway. But if you include the contingent liabilities and government guarantees, then we have crossed it. Yeah? So by our own standards, if you include, then we have crossed. So we should reduce. But having said that, 55% is actually very low. Many countries in the world have much higher
Compared to other countries.
to many other countries. But having said that, we don't need to go high. I mean, there is no reason why we need to be more than what you say.
So the second question is, what is the indicators in determining whether Malaysia in a state of bankruptcy?
I don't know if really, country needs to be put in the context of being bankrupt. Individuals, if you don't pay your debts, then okay, the people that you owe money to, they will want to get the payment back, and they seize your assets and so on, right? At a country level, I suppose whether a country will go bankrupt depends on how big that debt is, and whether they have enough assets to actually be used to pay back the debt. But having said that, you do have cases of, say, recently Greece. Right? Greece was a country, I think, last 2 or 3 years ago. They had huge debts that they couldn't pay, and therefore people said that they are going bankrupt. Yeah? But I'm not sure whether the term bankrupt is a correct word to use for country. Yeah? Certainly, if you are highly in debt and you cannot pay, then you will have to sell something. Maybe part of your assets you have to sell, right? For example, in Sri Lanka, we heard about this Chinese investment that go into Sri Lanka, and because they have to pay back and they couldn't pay back, so then the port now, in a way, has been taken over by China. So China, owns the port or runs the port in another country, in Sri Lanka. So I'm not sure in the case of Malaysia, even if we are not able to pay our debt, and we sell off some of our assets. Is it bankrupt? It's not bankrupt, you can pay, right? So this term bankruptcy may not be the best term to use for a country, okay? But certainly you don't want to lose your assets, right? You don't want to have to sell, part of your port, or you have to sell part of your land or an island just to pay off your debt. Yeah? So we want to make sure that we keep things in control.
So who will be affected if Malaysia become bankrupt?
If it's possible for a country to go bankrupt, I'm not sure whether or not it's correct. But certainly everybody will be, will not be happy, because bankruptcy means you are not able to pay your debts, and therefore you in a way like you belong to somebody else. That's what it means, right? If you cannot pay your debts, then somebody is owning you, isn't it? You have to pay back your debt. So of course everybody will be affected, and certainly your future generations are going to be affected by this.
So what is the government's actions in setting this problem?
Okay, so just like an individual, if you are under debts and you are not able to pay, then you can do a few things. One is you can try to reschedule your debt, right? So that's one of the things you can do lah. In the case of Malaysia, they have tried to they have not actually rescheduled, but they have renegotiated some projects like the ECRL. Right? You renegotiate in order to try and reduce the cost. So that means that will reduce your debt. You can also try to postpone some projects. So railway line to Singapore, high-speed rail has been postponed, right? Maybe for 2 years. So that will also give you some time for you to grow, in order for you to be able to afford some projects. And thirdly, you have to start being more careful with what you spend on, right? So you have to be a bit careful about prioritizing projects which are really important, and if possible also to increase your revenue side.
As we know, the nation are having quite few debts, and the economy is quite not so good right now. So how long does it take for the government to fix the economic condition?
Okay, I think recently there was a statement made that we need 6 months. Yeah, although I think it maybe is a bit too optimistic. It's not so easy. I think 6 months, maybe 1.5 to 2 years, maybe more relevant for us to see clearly that we have been able to tackle the problems. 6 months maybe enough to see us over the worst. Yeah, but I think if you want to really see clear results, maybe 1.5 years will be more workable. And don't forget, we are an open economy, so a lot depends also on external factors, right? So what happens to the global economy? What happens to the economy of our trading partners? So if, for example, China, faces problem, then of course we will also lose out. Yeah, US face problem, we also lose out. So Malaysia's economic condition is also quite dependent on other countries in terms of our exports. So so it depends, and so far the indications are that global economy is not going to get better in this year, right? So that's why I say 6 months may not be sufficient for us to see clear results. 1.5 years, 2 years maybe.
So, in your opinion, would it be suggested for our country to borrow from IMF?
I don't think we need to borrow from IMF. Generally speaking, at the moment, we're still under control. We have not lost control. What the government has done is that it has borrowed from Japan, right? So what we've basically done is, our previous loans, which were at, let's say, 5 or 6 or 7 or 8%, we now borrow from Japan at 2% or 3%, and so we are paying back, right, at a lower rate. So in that sense, we are managing to get a cheaper loan to pay for a more expensive loan. So that's good. I mean, in that sense, we have saved a bit. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to borrow any more from Japan, but certainly Japan has given us some money. So we don't, I think at the moment, need to talk about IMF. I don't think our economy has come to the stage where we have to go to any multinational organization to borrow. And we have not borrowed from IMF for years anyway, so I don't think politically also we will go to IMF. At least not in the near future, and hopefully we won't have to.
So should nation be worried on the amount of the debt, our country's debt, that our current Ministry of Finance have give a statement that our debts reach about 1 trillion.
So that 1 trillion figure, as I mentioned in your first question, it depends on how you calculate. Yeah? If you include all the liabilities and the government guarantees, then it was 1 trillion. But if you just take direct debt, I think it was like 600 plus billion. So yes, of course, it was a concern, because if you do take the 1 trillion figure, then it is 85 to 90% of your GDP, right? So that's not a good figure. But having said that, I think we have, for the last 6-7 months, we have tried to look at how we can pay back some amounts, how we can, like I said, renegotiate certain contracts, delay some projects, so that we are able to improve governance and things in our economy, so that we may be able to pay back those loans in a better way.
So ultimately, how can our country avoid bankruptcy?
Well, all countries, for that matter, just like individuals, you need to balance. You need to be able to know how much you get revenue and how much you spend, right? So our Malaysian economy, in terms of fiscal position here, since independence, since 1957, and since records are available, right, we have always had deficit budgets, except for maybe 3 or 4 years in the 90s, right? I think 90, I can't remember, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that. We had balanced budget and surplus budget. Okay, but other than that, those 4 years, every year was deficit. Now, what a deficit budget means, every year you are spending more than your revenue. So this is what makes your debt increase. And I think what has happened also in the last maybe 10 years, we have been also going into a lot of projects supposedly done by private sector, but guaranteed by government. So this is where the contingent liabilities and government guarantees have increased a lot. So because of these big projects and so on, with the government guarantee, now your debt position plus contingent liabilities and government guarantees have increased. So how do you manage this? Yeah, we may need to slow down with some of our unnecessary or not priority projects at the moment. Alright, so in the case of ECRL, I think we couldn't pull out, or if you pull out, you have to pay a fine, right? Because you've already signed the contract, right? So instead of scrapping the project, we renegotiated. Okay, so from 66 billion, it is now about 44 billion, right? So we reduced the project cost. Although we may be getting a different project, like it may not be the same route and so on, right? But at the end of the day, it's still a 20 billion reduction. So that's one way of doing it. So relook at the projects that you have, choose the ones that we think are the most important, try to get the best price, right? Make sure you don't have over budgets lah. In other words, try to make sure that you spend the money wisely and what it actually costs without paying costs which are not the real cost, but with all other additional costs that sometimes is a problem lah in many countries, right? So you have to spend wisely and make sure you also collect all the revenue you're supposed to get. So all Malaysians have to make sure that they contribute to the country, pay your taxes, don't avoid taxes, and so get your revenue up, get your costs down as much as possible.
So I think all the questions have been answered precisely by you, and thank you for your time.
Okay. Wait, just to also ask you, this is you all are undergraduate students,
Yes.
right? First degree. And what your program is what? Is an economics program or a bank management?
Administrative science.
Sorry?
Administrative science.
Administrative science. Okay. And so Mara has a branch in Seremban.
Ah, yeah.
Oh, I see. Where is this?
Seremban tiga.
Huh?
Seremban tiga.
Seremban Tiga. Okay, I didn't know that. I know there's a college Mara Seremban, but I didn't know there was a UiTM in Seremban.
It's quite in your
Oh,
college.
okay. So how many students are there?
5,000.
5,000. And what are the programs besides?
Sport science,
Computer science mathematics.
Okay. And you all are in administrative.
Yes.
Sorry, administrative
Science.
science. Yeah. Okay. So when you graduate, where will you all get attachment? Is it mainly public sector or even to private sector? What is the?
mainly in the public, but maybe can also to the private sector.
Okay. So it's like public administration.
Yeah.
Public administration. It doesn't have to be public. Public means you go to public sector.
Yeah.
It's administrative means you just become administrator. lah. Okay. So how many people in that program with you?
2,000. Half of the campus is on the Faculty of Administrative Science.
Wow, that's so.
The base for the Mr. Science there.
Wow, 2,000 is as big as our faculty. We have 2,000. Well, we have about 3,000 students, but I mean, we have four programs: economics, management, accounting, and finance. And total is about, I think undergraduate is about 2,004. So you are almost as big as one program is 2,000, huh? 2,000 plus. So,
It's one faculty.
and everyone is taking administrative science. Administrative sciences.
We include with the public administration. With the diploma.
Okay, so that's 2,000. Diploma and degree.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Do you really need this letters?
What do I need? This for what?
Just
As
for
your reference,
our permission to get
the interview.
Okay. I mean, you want to give this to me? No problem. We'll just keep it. Yeah, okay, fine. But then there's so many of you, only 4 came. How come?
because the another half will have to interview another.
Expert at UM.
Oh, I see. Okay. Alright.
So we can take a picture of you.
Okay, sure. Yeah. I mean, of course, you all can join, right? I mean, we can